Wednesday, 9 to noon. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The hockey last night heard on KFAN was terrific.
Vegas is out, dead center. Sissons 2-on-1. Buried in the zone, a drag, a shot, out, and he scores! Brett Howden with his 14th goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And while we celebrate 14 goals for Brett Howden and the Vegas Golden Knights, it was the Carolina Hurricanes who won the game. And won it with 6.5 minutes to go. Jordan Stahl with a circus diving goal on Carter Hart, and it was terrific.
Jerkers!
Some red-hot NBA action tonight. Everybody ready?
Brunson drives on Harper, steps back, three-pointers up. That's good! Jalen Brunson drills the three. It's a three-point game. At a 9-second difference shot clock and game clock. Towns holding on to Wemby. Fox gets into the paint, puts up jumper, got it! De'Aaron Fox with a clutch bucket right there. And it's back to a 5-point game. Timeout with 12.2 remaining.
Mike Breen firing bullets on ABC. We have a bevy of Vikings Day 1 minicamp takes throughout the 9 to noon presentation today, including with new friend Dane Moore from the Pioneer Press at 10 o'clock. Dane, of course, attended camp, and when I first saw him, he hit me with a quote, "They re-signed McCarron," end quote. So there will be a hockey bent with Mr. Mizutani, the TwinCities.com scribe. But joining us now to commence 9 to noon at 9:02. Good morning. The radio program today begins with dear friend Parker Fox. P. Fox, M. Fuller produces, or as he goes by on his incredibly popular YouTube channel, Young Maxwell, Sanford's other son.
I always love that one.
At Parker Fox 24 to follow P. Fox via X, and Max can be found at Froby Bryant 1 _.
That's not my
A. That's 2 A's, 2 Y's, and 2 E's.
I always love that one.
All right, homies who how. All right, homies who how. Knicks, and Spurs tonight. It's at Madison Square Garden. Yeah. Knickerbockers lead the series 2-1. Who wins tonight and why? Knicks or Spurs? P. Fox is the guest in the covenant. And you go first. Good morning.
Good morning, PA. Grateful to be here with you this morning. I got the Spurs, man. I think I like the way they're playing right now. I think they really found something out there in Game 3 in New York. I really loved Victor Wembanyama's approach. I think he had the right approach going into the Thunder series. I didn't think he had the right approach going into the Knicks series. And it's a team effort thing with a guy like Wemby, right? You want him to play in isolation. You want to be able to give him the ball on the perimeter and let him work. But he's 7'5" and he's got an 8-foot wingspan. He needs to be in his operating area, and his best spots are at the elbows and kind of in the Barkley position off the post. It was intentional for the San Antonio Spurs to get him the ball in those positions in Game 3, and it obviously worked out better for him. He was excellent in the game. He was 11 for 18, 32 points. He got to the free throw line, had 8 rebounds, had 3 blocks. I thought he was excellent in that game. But then the biggest thing for this San Antonio Spurs team is all the other pieces that come alongside with Victor Wembanyama, right? Hitting the 12 threes was excellent for them down the stretch. But for me, the way they defended the 3-point ball in the fourth quarter, the Knicks couldn't find a bucket in the fourth quarter. They couldn't find a 3-point bucket at all in the fourth quarter. And then my last point, Stephon Castle's defense on Jalen Brunson. 13 turnovers, 13 assists for Jalen Brunson. Throughout his playoff career, he's been about a 2.9 assisted turnover ratio guy. Right now, he's a 1-to-1. So the defense they're putting on Jalen Brunson has been key because he is the engine that stirs that pot there in New York.
Dang.
Hardcore.
That's some hardcore hoops right there from P. Fox at Parker Fox 24. Maxwell Fuller at Froby Bryant 1 _A. 2 A's, 2 Y's, 2 E's. Who do you like tonight, Maxwell? Who do you like and why?
I actually like New York. I like all of Parker's points, too, because the Spurs did get back to Spurs basketball. I mean, they scored 21 points off of turnovers. They limited their own turnovers. And like Parker said, they had to get more out of the non-Wemby players. Stephon Castle looked more like the Stephon Castle we saw in the Western Conference Finals, and unfortunately, the Stephon Castle that the Timberwolves faced in that second round there. But he's been amazing against Jalen Brunson. They're doing everything that they want to do against Jalen Brunson. I mean, pretty much every game, however many shots he takes, that's how many points he has, which is not very efficient. But even the Spurs playing Spurs basketball were just barely able to fend off the New York Knicks. And Karl-Anthony Towns was pretty much a non-factor, 4 for 10 from the floor. And Josh Hart, I mean, the Knicks, the thing about the Knicks throughout this series is that they're so deep and they're just getting these random amazing games from a different player every single night. Josh Hart had 0 in game 2.
Right.
And then he looks like Steph Curry in game 3 and can't miss from 3. OG Anunoby has been amazing. He's been the hottest shooter of any player in the NBA playoffs for throughout these entire last several months. So I just like the way that the Knicks are playing against the Spurs. If they can limit their turnovers and keep Jalen Brunson. The thing about Jalen Brunson is he's due for one. He's due for a more efficient game. You know, like he's scoring, but he's having to put up a lot of shots to score. So I think he's due for one, and I think they've played amazing defense against the Spurs role players. Dylan Harper's been great, but he's kind of. This looks like some of the Spurs players, the lights are a little too bright for them right now, and they're not getting the same out of the role players that they need. The Champagnes of the world, the Keldon Johnsons of the world, and the Knicks are getting the most out of those guys. And I think I feel like the Knicks feel like they got punked. Mm-hmm. Judging off of Jose, Grand Theft Alvarado's comments after the game. I think they feel like they got punked. I think maybe they feel like they were a little bit distracted heading into that game. So I think they're going to try to take it to the Spurs tonight. And I like the Knicks in this one at home in the Garden with that crazy energy, man.
And next, Pete Fox. Who will be the game's leading scorer tonight and why?
Oh, well, that's a great question. I agree with Maxwell's point of Jalen Brunson. He just hasn't been the player that he needs to be at the lead, at the point guard position for New York. So I think he could have a really big game tonight, being back at home, being comfortable. Like there is an energy about, I haven't lost in 40 some odd games. We're back home. We're in the Garden. The energy is here. Like, I'm not saying the lights are too bright for a guy like Jalen Brunson, but I think having a game underneath your belt and being able to kind of assess the way you played, and I think he's going to have a bounce back game. So I know that I said the Spurs are going to win tonight, but I think Jalen Brunson's going to be a guy who really fills up the box score, not only in his scoring, but his assists and his rebound numbers as well.
Young Maxwell, with the status of your mouth/jaw.
Yeah.
How effective is the hoo-dee-hoo?
It's not very effective right now.
Is it going to mess things up if you do a hoo-dee-hoo?
I could do a little one, just a little.
Give it to us.
Hoo-dee-hoo. That's all I got though. But I'm loading it up. Friday's the big day, so hopefully we can hootie all the whoos after that. I'm going to go with the sleeper. I think it's Karl-Anthony Towns tonight.
I like it.
I think Karl-Anthony Towns has been amazing. I think there's a case to be made. It would more than likely be Jalen Brunson if the Knicks won the finals, but I think there's a case to be made that Karl-Anthony Towns could be the NBA Finals MVP, not only for his offense, his scoring, his playmaking, but he's been great defensively against Victor Wembanyama, as great as someone can be. And we all knew Wemby was going to have a big game. He's a gamer, man. After they lost those first 2 games, you knew he was going to come out and be aggressive. We saw it against OKC. Every time that he sort of had a down game, he'd come back out and he'd start the game. I mean, his first quarters have been absolutely incredible. And the Spurs in general, they've had double-digit leads in every single one of these games. They just haven't been able to maintain those hot starts. But Karl-Anthony Towns is basically a non-factor in Game 3, so I'm expecting Karl-Anthony Towns to bounce back with a big game tonight.
And a hootie-hoo. Pete Fox, how much do we overall trust Steph Castle, who sometimes has some bull in a china closet to his offensive prowess, especially when my man's dead set trying to get a shot up by the basket? Man, he just throws some crazy ones up.
Yeah, he does, but I think that's just the he's going to get rid of those, right? He's going to mature. His game is going to grow. He's going to find ways to operate in the mid range. I think when you're a young guy coming into this league and you're known to be a really tough, hard nosed junkyard dog type of defender, you set the tone on that, right? And you take on that responsibility as, hey, I'm going to guard the other team's best player. I'm going to do what I can defensively, and then whatever comes from the offensive game, I'll take. But I thought he was really good in Game 3. He was 8 of 14 from the floor. He had 23 points. He's able to knock down a couple triples. He got to the free throw line. So he's a guy where he's consistently going to get 5+ free throws a game just because of his mentality of getting to the rim. He knows how to draw fouls. There's a little flop in his game. It's not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander-like, but there's a little head twitch going on as he gets to the rim. But I think the next kind of evolution for his game, PA, is you see the 3 points. He shoots 5 of them. That's great. Continue to shoot those. But now get to the mid-range. Operate in the mid-range. It doesn't need to be 3 or rim. You have to find ways to find the soft spots in the defense, and I think that's something that comes along as your career continues to develop. But I love what he's doing on the defensive side of the ball. He's so dang physical on the point of attack, and I think that's something where if you look at the numbers, 13 turnovers, 13 assists, like I mentioned for Jalen Brunson, something's working there on the defensive side of the ball for Castle.
All right, for both of you.
#Faith Radio.
Who misses Cat while watching him thrive throughout the postseason? Who do you?
It's tough, man, and I know Maxo feels the same way, but I just think
Max, you miss Cat?
Yeah, I miss Cat. Me and Parker, actually, we had completely different reactions to the Cat trade. I remember Parker was the one that broke the news to me, and he's like, hell yeah. And I was like, oh no.
I know.
And we both had completely different reactions to it, but it's hard not to. I know Parker's probably feeling the same way that I'm feeling right now. Who doesn't miss Cat right now?
And the way that they're deploying him on the offensive side of the ball is something we really didn't see in Minnesota very much. Like the way they're operating offense with him kind of at the point of attack, almost Draymond Green-like, but then he has the ability to step out and knock down those triples. So they've found the way to use him at his best ability in New York, and we would love to see him win a championship.
All right, so if there is a splashy Timberwolves trade this summer, and it's for either Giannis, Kyrie Irving, Zion Williamson, or Ja Morant, Max, you first. Which one and why?
I mean, I feel like you have to go with Giannis. He's been so injured, and we haven't seen him too much in the postseason throughout the last couple of years. So I think almost it's kind of insane to say, but we've kind of forgot Giannis, when he's healthy, is the best two-way player in the NBA. He is the best when you compare his offense and his defense, he's the best two-way player in the NBA.
But you started your sentence with, it's Giannis. He's been so injured of late in his career.
But everybody you just named, none of them have been healthy. Kyrie Irving has been oft injured. Zion Williamson, that's been the story of his career. And Ja Morant, the injuries have derailed his career along with the off-court stuff. So
Grand Theft Alvarado,
though, box.
Running into Mayor Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Oh, you kids make me so happy. Good Lord.
When you factor injury into the equation, it's going to be a factor for any of those guys, and Giannis is the one that has the higher upside. You pair Giannis with Anthony Edwards, you basically have there's never going to be a one-to-one comparison, but you have the most one-to-one comparison of a modern-day Shaq and Kobe of any team in the NBA, and it's hard. I mean, you can't really, the spacing between Giannis and Anthony Edwards that would open up for the two of them would be absolutely insane. And I don't even want to consider Jaden McDaniels unless it's for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Pete Box, being a big man, probably wants one of those point guards to facilitate, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, Pia, you got to identify what's the goal, right? Like, we've known Tim Conley. He built this Wolves team to beat the Denver Nuggets. He's done that. They're no longer the cream of the crop anymore, right? It's OKC, and it's this alien in Victor Wembanyama. So you have to decide, hey, am I trying to deepen our backcourt? Am I trying to have a running mate with Anthony Edwards in the backcourt? Maybe a really skilled, in my opinion, the greatest, the most skilled basketball player of all time in Kyrie Irving? Or are you trying to deploy a guy like Victor Wembanyama, Giannis Antetokounmpo, to guard a guy like Victor Wembanyama, right? Now, I don't think the Wolves have the assets that a team like Miami or Portland has, right? You can give Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Kasparas Jokic, and then when it comes to Portland Trailblazers, it'd be like a Scoot Henderson, Chris Murray, Matisse Thybulle type of situation.
Not to mention OKC could press the big red button whenever they want.
Yeah.
They probably won't, but they really really could, though.
Those picks, though. But in my opinion, it's Kyrie, PA. And I think that's something where if you're Anthony Edwards, Kyrie Irving,
Lord.
Why would you not want to play alongside the most skilled player of all time, Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, no cap.
No Kizzy, though.
Parker's inclusion 9 to noon is provided by Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park. Excellent Father's Day purchasing opportunities, specifically June 19th and 20th with the trunk show. They have a trunk show there. You can look at some really, really cool bracelets, specifically beaded bracelets that maybe Dad would like. Learn more at continentaldiamond.com. Homies who howl, thank you very much, and have a good day, P. Fox.
Love you, man.
Love you, bud. Parker Fox at Parker Fox 24. TimberTech, timbertech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes bookending Danes over the next 3 with PFT in between. The basketball Dane Moore joins 9 to noon next.
This is 9 to noon on the...
What do you find to be the most beneficial social media route to deliver your podcast, and that can include YouTube?
Yeah, I think it's hard, and I think I'm getting too old to know the answer to those questions. But I grew up in the Twitter era, man. I was a blog boy once upon a time, and that's where I got all my followers. So I work with the old people on Twitter. I still call it Twitter.
Yeah, and that would include me. What do you most enjoy about your yearly schedule when the Timberwolves are advancing in the playoffs? And the point being, for what it's worth, you are rapidly ascending, and that requires grindy work and sacrifice. Like when I was ascending, like you, I filled my pockets, but also emptied my soul. Know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that way. I feel that way a lot of the time. I feel as in the summer, you just have more nights and stuff, right? You know the gig working in sports. It's a lot of the time that you're working is the time when your family and friends and others are not. So I'm working on finding those work life balances, but it feels good now once the season's over and everything feels a little more normal.
Right. All righty. Bet, as the kids would say, like producer Max Fuller. What do you think about tonight and Game 4 at the Garden?
See, man, I was not like that convinced that it was over as we were going back to the Garden for Game 3. I thought watching San Antonio in those first 2 games, there was just like a lot that didn't make sense about what they were doing, and I thought like Victor specifically, Wembanyama wasn't making sense of how they were using him. I'm going to talk about Cat a little bit. I did not like the way that Victor was guarding Cat. I'm not even sure that Victor should be guarding Cat at all, right? Like keep him by the rim. Maybe that would be a better idea. Credit to Cat, right? He was cooking him.
Yeah.
So that really like surprised me with how poor I thought Wembanyama's defense was in games 1 and 2. And then they just weren't getting him the ball by the basket at all, or he was settling for jump shots a lot. And I think what we saw in Game 3, and we saw San Antonio win that one, was Wembanyama was not on Cat. He was kind of lurking by the basket, like we often see Rudy Gobert do, right? And then they're running that pick and roll, and he's getting dunked at the rim. Like, I think Victor needs to play this series against New York closer to the basket on both sides of the floor. That's the way I would put it. I think we saw that in Game 3, and it keeps them very live in this series to me if they can continue that.
Stephon Castle, as we saw in the Timberwolves series now against Brunson, he's just so gifted with the way he plays his physical brand of defense. Now, offensively, sometimes Castle becomes so reckless, especially when trying to get his shot at the rim. So, like, what do you think about his overall game?
He reminds me a lot of Jimmy Butler. Plays off of 2 feet. And I think what Jimmy does really well while going to the basket without, being super tall or super long or super athletic is he plays off of 2 feet, gets the pump fake game, and draws fouls and gets to the free throw line. And I think Castle does that sometimes, but I think to your point, we've seen him get a little bit sped up in these finals.
Yep.
And so when he's going to the basket, it just looks like he's sort of barreling there. He's 21 years old, I think he's not having a good finals because he's 21 years old, but those are the things you learn with time, right? A little bit higher IQ, how to slow yourself down a little bit. And I think Yeah, reminds me of Jimmy.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I love that Jimmy Butler comparison because, like you said, Steph is 21, locks you down defensively like Butler, doesn't have a big opinion. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't cry much like Butler. Castle's mid-range game probably needs to improve to get where Jimmy's is. But Jimmy's never been big on three-point shooting, and I mean, Castle's three-point game needs to improve, but he's not that great at it. So, yeah, I can completely see that. Is it? And speaking of, physical branded defense, like Jimmy the Bulldog or Steph Castle, with Jalen Brunson, do you find it key for the Spurs to rough him up? I mean, they just went to pounding on him in Game 3, and I think it had an impact on his game.
Yeah, well, he's undersized, right? That's something you can take advantage of. I think especially in these finals, they're very clearly letting this be a very physical brand of basketball.
Right.
The rest of them letting that go. So I think that's totally a smart move. And really with Brunson, it's like once he gets you on his hip, like he's going to take advantage of you with his footwork and shot making and all that sort of stuff. So, right, like playing more physical with him allows you to keep him a little bit more squared up in front of you. And we know that, Castle can do that for them. But what makes San Antonio special is like they don't really get in too much trouble when a switch happens. Right? Even Vassell can guard, even Champagny can hold up for a little bit of time. I just think that's such an important thing in the NBA right now is having a litany of guys who can guard on the perimeter, so there's not somebody that a guy like Jalen Brunson can pick on.
Dane Moore at Dane Moore NBA via Twitter, via X. We have the Dane Moore podcast. He does it quite frequently. So, from the Knicks leading this series 2-1, who do you like from here? Who do you think is going to win the series and why?
I think San Antonio is going to win. I do. I think San Antonio is going to win this. Obviously, tonight is going to be huge, but I think there's something here with Victor that, if deployed correctly, is going to be such a problem for New York and for the rest of this league for the next 10 years. If he's got it going between his ears, Victor, and can apply himself correctly, it's just an advantage that I think only another elite team can take advantage of. And maybe New York is that. I don't know. I've been a little bit more skeptical of them throughout the course of the season, and they've proven me wrong. But it's close, coin flippy.
Yep.
Maybe New York's a slight favorite, but I'll give you San Antonio.
Dane, two seasons removed from the Karl Anthony Towns trade. If you were the Timberwolves, would you do it again?
Well, does Dante DiVincenzo have a torn Achilles?
Yeah, right.
I just think that was such a big part of it. And I think we're actually talking about this on my show today. And going back and looking at what it was, and DiVincenzo was on a very cheap contract at $12 million a year with numerous years left on his contract. So it wasn't just the value of player that they were trading for, which we all have an appreciation for what Dante brings now, right? But it was to have him on the team for 3 years at $12 million, when most players of his caliber in the league are making $25 million plus, even as role players. And to me at the time, that was such an important piece that, kind of balanced it out. Obviously, the Karl money situation made it logical just on the surface, but I think low-key the DiVincenzo thing was, maybe we start to brush over that more now as Dante's at the end of his contract, but he was on a really good contract that I think was worth a lot of draft picks if they wanted to have traded that at the time. But here we are. Bad luck, and it obviously it's the worst for Dante.
So via Twitter at Dane Moore NBA, I saw a tweet, and I'm pretty sure it's tied to the podcast, the Dane Moore NBA podcast. Learn more about that via his Twitter feed. And it was with Britt Robson. And I'll just read the tweet straight. Why the Wolves got bored this season feels like one of the biggest things that needs to be understood this summer and changed before next season, as was discussed on the podcast. I mean, with all of the trade speculation and the names bouncing around, this is the A topic, right? Not becoming bored with the regular season and pushing through that.
I think so, right, PA? Like, yes, you can make these moves, and I think, like, additionally need to make moves to rebalance out this roster and, you know, find a front court that fits a little bit better. Maybe you need to find a point guard to work alongside Ant. But something happened with the mentality of the group this season, and I think it was a product of going to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, where the regular season was extremely casual. They just had an extremely casual approach to the season. Finch talked about them getting bored. Like, this isn't something I'm making up. You know, you talked to Finch about this. I remember I was in New Orleans for a game on December 2nd, and it was just a lethargic game, and I talked to Ant in the locker room after the game, and he said to me, it feels like we're waiting around for the playoffs. And it was December 2nd, man. Like, it's just, that can't be the approach. And especially with these teams like Oklahoma City and San Antonio that are just have a really good regular season approach. Come playoffs, they're just more ready to rock than the Wolves are. So I'm not a coach. I don't know exactly what the approach is to that from Finch's standpoint. He's talked to you about how you can't just like blow them up and yell at them every single day. But the Wolves need to get to the point of is not needing to be yelled at every single day to take the regular season seriously. And it's, I think, a fake trope that the regular season isn't important in the NBA. And I think we're learning that in Minnesota. And the young players need to have a different approach to that next season if they do want to compete with the Oklahoma Cities and San Antonios in the Western Conference. I don't know what the answer is there, but I know it's a problem.
So Dane, a couple to close here. Do you think that they will make a splashy trade this offseason?
It's hard to say, PA, because I'm not sure, like, how much player movement and draft picks are going to be traded. We're kind of in this weird spot with the lottery rules changing, which inherently changes the value of picks, right? So how much ammunition do the Wolves have in this new context with the second apron and the salary cap? That's more complicated. It's hard to, like, actually be like, oh, Kyrie Irving would cost this much to acquire, Kawhi Leonard would cost this much, or on down the line. I think the distilled version of it that I've been talking about is for the Wolves to go get an impact guy, it's going to have to be a player that comes with risk, as Kyrie Irving would with his age and coming off an ACL, John Morant given his history, Zion Williamson given his injury history. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to make the splashiest of splashy moves for like a Giannis. And I just think they're in a spot where it does kind of feel like you do need to make a move. So you probably need to make some sort of move that incurs some risk. And that's on Finch and Conley to incur the correct risk. And that's going to be tough.
And would that be angling for a young, true point guard? I mean, you know, so many teams want something like that, but you know what I mean, a true point guard to play with Edwards.
I mean, just how many of them are there?
Right.
You know, like that. So what I've been kind of moving to is this like combo guard idea of like one of those players that you would kind of think as a 1/2, but can give you enough of those ball handling things that they have. I'm not saying Zach LaVine specifically as a player, but I think we can all kind of picture Zach LaVine where we go, that's not a point guard, but that's a guy who can create for himself, can get to the middle of the floor, create for others, and finish and all, you know, score at all three levels while also helping his teammates out. I think that's what Ant needs next to him. I think he just needs another handler that can also score for themselves and create for others from the guard position. So if they can't get a Kyrie, if they can't get a true point guard, maybe we're looking at that combo guard universe, and we're looking at the 10% of them who are really strong handlers, can run a pick and roll for you and get your team into offense. That's where I've kind of gone in my head. A Drew Holiday, maybe.
Well, just quickly here to close and spitballing a little bit. Would you? They'll probably say no, depending on the package, but would you call Orlando and just see how secure they are with Jalen Suggs? I mean, Anthony Black's played some really, really good minutes when Suggs was hurt, and you know they'd have to do some work around that. But would you call them just to see what they say?
I literally have a list of these guys that I'm talking about those combo guards, and Suggs is the fourth person on my list right here as I'm looking at it. And so, yeah, I would. I think that makes some sense. And you bring up Anthony Black, who's on a rookie contract, so he's really cheap. Orlando's in a tough financial spot. Maybe they do want to get off of Jalen Suggs $30 million. Like, that's his risk, right? That's the risk that would come with Suggs, is you're taking on a big contract. But yeah, can Suggs, his shot, that would be my concern with Suggs, is how good of a shooter is he? He has not been good at that in his time in the league, but we know everything else he does, and it's easy to see how that would, how his defense, his tenacity, all of those things would help this Wolves team. But I think it's a great example of a guy that I'm talking about, kind of in that Drew Holiday mold, right? But younger.
So you have a podcast today, right?
Yep. We are for probably the 100th time relitigating the cat trade. We'll get it all done.
Right on, brother. Thank you. Have a good show and have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thank you, PA.
Yep. See you, bud. At Dane Moore NBA to learn more about that podcast. He does them quite frequently, and they are very, very good. Around the corner, we got some PFT. Yeah,
I'm a kid, so I call it KFAN.
Of 2022, because his path to Miami was blocked. Remember, all that was going on at the time. The Dolphins were trying to get him and Sean Payton. That got blocked after Brian Flores filed his lawsuit. That's when Brady went back to Tampa Bay, but he went back under the express or implied condition that Bruce Arians wouldn't be the coach. That's what we heard at the time. And after Brady came back, somebody said, you watch, the next shoe is going to be Arians is out. And 4 weeks later, Arians was out.
Right. And Bruce Arians, former coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Hardcore football.
Isn't it best for the Cards to forget about Jacoby Brissett, lose a bunch of games with Minshew and rookie Beck, and draft a quarterback super high in next year's draft?
Yes. Now, they shouldn't say it, but at a time when the NBA has openly acknowledged tanking and they're reconfiguring the draft lottery to avoid these situations where in an 82-game season, and it's obvious pretty early on who's competitive and who isn't, you make an analytical decision. How will we become better as a franchise? Well, if we can position ourselves for generational talent, that's how we turn this lost season into a game. The NFL has that floating around from time to time. The NFL has done a good job of obscuring it because the NFL wants us to think that every team is trying to win every game. But then, hey, look at the draft order and look who has the first pick. And having the first pick gives you some sizzle, some buzz, and you get to draft this guy, and the Raiders have Fernando Mendoza and all of that stuff. So the Cardinals, given that they're in the NFC West, where they've got two of the best three teams in the NFL, maybe three of the best five teams in the NFL in front of them, they didn't do anything to go out and find a starter. They're trying to take Jacoby Brissett's backup contract and make him the starter, and he's not having that. His attitude is very simple. I signed to be a backup. Now you want to make me the starter. You got to pay me like a starter. That doesn't mean pay me $60 million a year. That means pay me like a starter.
Right.
Here's the range. Put me at the bottom. But yeah, I think it's in their best long-term interest to embrace the suck, as Jared Allen said during the Vikings 2011 season. Be as bad as you can be. Get that first pick, draft Arch Manning, and then trade him to someone else because he refuses to play for you.
Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com.
PFT.
Here, McCarthy is saying all the right things. Kyler was middling at best yesterday at minicamp, but his minicamp, Wentz right now might be the best on the roster. Green Bay's here in 3 months. What do you make of all that?
Well, it's a work in progress, but the reality is the sooner that a starter is selected, the sooner the starter can be fully prepared to start the season. And I think that's what was coming through in Kyler Murray's comments from yesterday. Not that he was complaining, he was just acknowledging the reality of trying to learn a new offense when you're splitting reps. And I think at some level he's thinking, if I'm going to be the starter, let's go. Let's get me in a position where I don't throw back-to-back interceptions to start the team drills in a mandatory minicamp practice, where I understand exactly how to run this offense, and I'm ready to go when Green Bay comes to town without Micah Parsons on week 1. So I understand his frustration. I understand J.J. McCarthy's frustration with having Kyler Murray there to potentially supplant him. But the sooner Kevin O'Connell sets his 1, 2, 3, 4 depth chart, the sooner the guy at number 1 can get all the work he needs to be ready to go.
What with the Vikings, Mike? What did you think of the hiring of new general manager Nolan Teasley?
Well, the key is going to be the relationship between Teasley and O'Connell. In a dysfunctional organization, the GM and the coach believe that there's a benefit to blaming the other guy when adversity strikes. And that creates a situation where, as the coach is trying to win the game, he's wondering what the GM is whispering to ownership. You've got the coach possibly making passive-aggressive shots about the talent, or someone leaking stories about, this player isn't good enough or whatever. You need what they've managed to craft in Miami so far. Now, they haven't played a game yet. We don't know how it's going to go. But John Eric Sullivan, the new GM, and Jeff Hafley, the new coach, both from Green Bay. They were together for 2 years in Green Bay, and they came to the conclusion that they are fully aligned. There is no daylight between them and how they operate. That's what you need in a GM and a coach. It needs to be a partnership, regardless of who's in charge of the operation. Teasley's in charge of the football operation. They both separately report to ownership. And I liked Mark Wolf's comment last week when he was asked the question about structure and how it all fits together and where's Rob Brzezinski. And as Wolf said, and I'm paraphrasing, if you are worried about structure, you've already lost. That doesn't matter. What someone's contract says about what power they have doesn't matter, because anytime you have a situation where someone's waving around their contract saying, I'm in charge here, like Hugh Jackson, remember that scene from Hard Knocks where he felt compelled to tell the coach's room, I'm in charge here? Like, anytime you start doing that's not functional. You need everybody to be in the same boat, on the same page, rowing the oars in the same direction, and not thinking about themselves, always thinking about team. And the right attitude is, we all succeed or we all fail. There is no half ground here where we fail, but I'm not the one whose ass is on the line over it.
Who gets the most starts this year in Las Vegas, Mendoza or Chains?
I think it all comes down to what the players think when it's time to go practice. If Mendoza is clearly the best guy, how do you get Max Crosby to buy into the idea of, we're going to go with Mendoza because, he's the first overall pick, even if the players sense day in and day out that Cousins is better? Or flip side, we understand you're trying to bring this guy along slowly, but he's clearly better. That's what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. And I remember Travis Kelce telling me in 2017 when Mahomes was on the bench that he was doing some incredible things in practice. And it's amazing to me because the Chiefs hit a rough stretch in November of that year. And I remember saying, let's go with Mahomes. He had played against the Titans in the preseason, and he looked phenomenal. It's like, let this guy play. And they stuck to that plan because Smith was still good enough. I think for a team like the Raiders, you can't do anything hollow or artificial. The best guy needs to play. And I look at it this way, very simply. All due respect to Chains. If Mendoza isn't instantly better than Chains at this age, then they blew it by making Mendoza the first overall pick in the draft. Having the first pick in the draft means if you're going to take a quarterback, having a quarterback who right now is better than a guy who's on the wrong side of 35, who has had mixed performances over the past couple of years, due in large part to the aftermath of that torn Achilles tendon. But if Mendoza isn't better right out of the gate, they picked the wrong guy with the first overall selection.
Okay, lastly, and with the website,
PFT,
ProFootballTalk.com, did the Rams trading for Myles Garrett blow you away? I mean, it probably blew up the website in a good way, right?
Oh, it was great. And, there was a throwaway mention at the bottom of a long ESPN article over the weekend that looked at the various trades that happened last Monday, A.J. Brown, Myles Garrett, and Jared Verse, who was part of that deal. That's the part that blew me away, the Jared Verse thing. I kind of had a feeling that something was going to happen with Myles Garrett. They dropped the clue in March when they delayed the due date of a $29.2 million option bonus from March 15 to 1 week before the start of the regular season. And as Les Snead, the Rams GM, has said, that's what prompted him to pick up the phone when they realized what that meant. I'd like to think he got that idea after reading the PFT article that said, hey, look at this. They can still trade the guy. So regardless, I wasn't surprised by Garrett. I was surprised that Verse was part of it. And I wonder whether or not they're going to try to turn June 1 into a new tentpole, because look at how much interest it drove. And there's only so much nudging the league office can do, but as teams see, because there's a lot of ways to win. And in the offseason, you know how you win? You win by getting attention. It's a great way to get attention. It's a great way to get people engaged with your product when you're not playing games. Currently, it ends with the draft. This could be a new June 1. Hey, everybody, who's going to get traded this June 1? And it'll be interesting to see next year which veterans, where you have that cap benefit that comes from waiting until June 1, which veterans are going to get traded on or after June 1 to just make this day into a thing. It used to be 20 years ago, June 1 free agency, Paul, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Because it used to be you couldn't cut a guy with a post-June 1 designation, so you would have players who were held by a team until June 1, and then they were cut, and there was a second wave of free agency that popped up, and that went away in 2006. I just wonder whether what happened this year between A.J. Brown, Jared Verse, and Myles Garrett is going to make it into a thing again.
Hey, man, congratulations on finishing the most recent book. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon, okay?
You want to hear the title? I haven't told you the title. You want to hear the title?
Yeah,
I don't know if it's bad form.
Well, I do, but I thought you were keeping it quiet purposely. That's why I didn't ask.
Well, since I feel very strongly about and loyal to our folks in Minnesota who I hear from time to time. They hear me on KFAN and they enjoy it. And I want your unvarnished opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The title of the book is Accessory After the Fact.
Accessory After the Fact?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, there has to be a subtitle, right? I mean, like
no, it's Accessory After the Fact. Accessory After the Fact.
Okay, so then like no little explainer, like a drop head or something like that?
No, Accessory After the Fact. You pick it up and you read it. So I guess I shouldn't have revealed it. You didn't react to it.
Well,
the way that.
But I need to see
you
it. You
reacted to it like I did a sculpture of Cristiano Ronaldo or something. Holy crap!
Well, remember
next time I'll keep my mouth shut.
No, remember when you sent me the picture of the famed Vegas sign and it had Big Shield in it, and there was like a little tiny font tweet that I recommended. I don't know if you did it or not, but so I'm not averse to telling you, hey, love it, but why don't you think about that? What's the title again?
Accessory After the Fact.
Florio, you can write what you want. It's okay.
You can write what you want. It's okay.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, BS.
All right, see you, bud.
Bye.
Mike Florio, PFT. We will dive more deeply into Minnesota Vikings minicamp day 1 with Dane Moore from the Pioneer Press and TwinCities.com. He joins us in studio next.
You're listening live to Paul